welcome to Hallelujah Monkeys for Monday, March 27th. I am Dylan Flynn.
I'm Trevor Ickrath.
Trevor, it's the first episode of our Gorillaz fan cast. Are you excited about that?
I'm really stoked. You came to me with this idea like yesterday, and I was immediately on board.
Yeah, well, I feel like sometimes you have to build a better mousetrap, and then sometimes a mousetrap doesn't even exist yet.
Right, filling that hole in that market. I do want to say real quick, because you mentioned the date at the top, this is coming out on Monday the 27th, but we're recording on Sunday, March 26th, which is
that's a good point.
Which is a very special date. Do you know why?
Is that, oh my God, 16 years ago today.
16 years ago today, the first Gorillaz studio album.
Yeah, I was in Kentucky visiting my grandparents. I was super stoked already because I got obsessed with the Clint Eastwood video on MTV2. And I made my dad take me to a Suncoast DVD and record store at that time. They still had records. And I bought my version of the self-titled. I holed myself up in my grandparents' basement with headphones, and I was like, this is the best album that's ever existed.
I was 10 years old, not super into music yet. I do remember seeing the Clint Eastwood video on Toonami and thinking, oh, that's pretty cool. But yeah, March 2001.
We did it. 16 years.
Yeah,
16
we
years,
would soon be grappling with the national tragedy of 9/11, and all we would have to help get us through it is 4 lovable cartoon characters and a taste for trip-hop.
This is our first episode, and so...
This is the pilot, depending on how this goes.
Well, yeah, that's true. We might be one of those, like, one and done. Wasn't there, like, an attempted Happy Days spinoff about an adult Cupid? We could be that.
Yeah, I wasn't really able to get that off the ground.
I think we're both kind of dreading getting the pilot heavy lifting stuff out of the way, because that's really boring to do, to, like, dryly tell our listeners who we are and why they should care about us.
Yeah, so let's jump into that now and get it out of the way, I think.
Let's do it so fast. Yeah. I want to challenge you, Trevor, to tell me and our listener who you are in one super economical sentence.
I am a writer living in LA who got into Gorillaz through Demon Days. I joined Gorillaz Unofficial soon after, and I've been living the Gorillaz lifestyle ever since.
Does that mean that you, like, have a version of your name, like 2T, and you draw yourself like a Gorillaz character?
No, I never really took it that far. I actually have a very long, complicated history with Gorillaz, over the course of my 10-year relationship with them now. But that's all stuff that I'm sure we will explore throughout the course of the podcast. We don't need to get into it right just yet.
Yeah, okay. I'm going to do the same thing that you just did.
Okay.
I'm Dylan Flynn. I'm a stand-up comedian living in the Houston area. I got into Gorillaz before the self-titled came out, and then I kind of fell off real hard, and then Demon Days came out, and I was like, this is still my jam. And here we are, however many years later, and it appears to also still be my jam, spoiler alert. And then I guess, really quickly... I guess we've known each other now, Trevor, for more than a decade?
That's really weird to think about.
That is really weird.
Yeah. We met through the forum I mentioned, GorillazUnofficial.com.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Were you also active on the original message board, the OMB?
You know what? I had a screen name there when I was like 12 and the first album came out. But it was kind of it was like a real wasteland.
Yeah, we probably shouldn't talk about it.
It was not great. Yeah. It was not great.
I think the less we explore the darker corners of the Gorillaz fan base, the better. We should probably just stick to...
Yeah, maybe in between this album that's coming out and the next one, we'll like get really heavy into that stuff.
Yeah, shine a light on those darker corners. But for now, I think we should keep to the light.
Gorillaz Unofficial still technically exists, right? Is that true?
It's still the first place I go to, like, whenever... some rumors are floating around whenever news drops. Right.
I know Twitter, their Twitter is still very, or at least relatively active or something like that.
Yeah,
Go join that forum. Why not if you're listening and you're a fan? Go check it out.
Plugs.
Let's get into the news.
Okay, let's do it, yeah.
Yeah, that's what we're doing. I mean, again, you mentioned that we're recording the Sunday before, so if something has happened that makes all of this sound like in really poor taste, like... David Albarn killed Jamie Hewitt and then turned the gun on himself. Just keep in mind, we don't know about that yet. It's all good news now. But anyway, okay, so there's Gorillaz have announced the Demon Days Festival. Gorillaz are prepping their live return with a headlining festival in Kent, England on June 10th with a full lineup of support acts to be named soon. The event will be held at the Dreamland Amusement Park in Margate. And this is kind of funny, but the press release, Trevor, also mentioned that the tickets are going to include full admission to that amusement park.
I saw that. I kind of initially totally ignored this news release because it is not something that I would ever feasibly be able to go to.
Oh, right. Yeah. And so the tickets went on sale March 10th. They're all sold out. But the good news is that the whole festival is going to be streamed live on redbull.tv. And also the good news is, I mean, we still don't know who all is on the bill. That's not officially been announced, although Damon teased some things. We'll get into that a little later. But the good news is if they book someone awful, like if there's a full Phi Life Cypher set, you can just go ride the log flume because that's included in your ticket price.
Can you imagine a full Phi Life Cypher live set at a Gorillaz festival?
I can imagine being like, "Oh, cool! That means I can go grab an elephant ear and a funnel cake."
We shouldn't include this in the actual podcast because I know you created a Twitter for us and you followed all of the collaborators, and the only one who followed you back was a member of this group.
That's true. God bless you.
I bet if we're nice enough, too, we could get him to retweet us.
You know what? I bet if we're really nice enough, we could get him to Skype in.
That's the goal. By the end of season 1, we will have that member of Phi Life Cypher on the podcast.
And we'll give him instrumental versions of Feel Good Inc. and Saturn's Bars so that he can do an official Phi Life Cypher version.
Entire instrumental versions of some of their albums exist. I mean, we could get him to freestyle over every track on Demon Days.
Oh, yes, a Phi Life Cypher edition of Demon Days.
This is good. I think having a goal will really drive this podcast. I mean, Scott Aukerman was able to get U2 on his podcast. We should be able to get this guy from this hip-hop group that I have never heard anything else from.
I'm for it. I'm all for it, Trevor. Good. We have a goal.
Okay.
Okay, so I am stoked about this because I can watch it on redbull.tv, although that feels weird and like a corporocratic thing to say, like, thank you, Red Bull, for letting me watch this concert.
Gorillaz have always had some weird corporate collaborations going on. Like, remember in Phase 3 when they were they hooked up with like Microsoft for some kind of Internet Explorer deal.
Yeah, I do remember that.
That was kind of embarrassing in retrospect, especially when like Arcade Fire was working with like Google Chrome to do some kind of Google Maps inspired video, which also is kind of like bad in retrospect. But at least they were kind of trying to be on the cutting edge there.
Yeah, well, and then I think this isn't in our news stories, but I believe they've already announced, in advance of the new LP that they're doing something with Beats by Dre.
Yeah, I mean, that's a little better, right?
Yeah, at least that's consistent. Yeah. Like, you think, oh, music industry, headphones, blah, blah, blah. I don't got much else to say about this. I mean, I'm interested to see what all we get. I'm assuming what this is going to be, Trevor, is we're going to get a full set from some of the collaborators, and it's all going to lead up to a big Gorillaz set. That's what I assume we're getting.
And you said you didn't know who was going to be there yet, right? They haven't announced that bill?
So Damon said some off-the-cuff shit about it, but that's kind of tied into one of our news stories, so I guess I'll save that.
Okay.
But yeah, officially there's no, like, you can't go look at the website and see the list of the people.
Right.
Let's move into our next story. Gorillaz released video for Saturn's Bars. The clip, directed by Jamie Hewlett, is available in both standard and interactive 360-degree versions.
Are you gonna re-edit the fact that you just like got the one of two Gorillaz members' names wrong the first time you mentioned it?
I'm leaving it in.
Okay.
Because I wrote it, for some reason I wrote it down.
I know, you wrote it in our Google Doc wrong every time, and I was like, oh boy.
I know, it's a bummer, but I said it, and now everybody knows that I'm a flawed individual.
It's fine.
And they can, like, judge me and call my Gorillaz credentials into question. I'm okay with it.
I'm sure that after, like, 16 years, I'm still pronouncing Auburn incorrectly, so...
So it's available in both standard and interactive 360-degree versions. It features the band in traditional two-dimensional animation, exploring a computer-generated haunted mansion, which is dubbed the Spirit House. and they're being tormented by spooky supernatural beings as they float through space in various stages of undress. Trevor, first of all, did you watch the 360 version?
I didn't watch the 360 version. I did watch the standard version, I guess. I feel like I'm missing out on something about this video because the primary discourse I've seen surrounding it has been that, like, you get to see Murdoch's dick from, like, every angle.
Right, but it is edited,
okay,
at least as far as I know.
As far as I know, I've been seeing some, like, conversations that sound like people are actually seeing this dick.
There might be, like, a deep web version if you go to, like, gorillas.onion, where you can see...
That's gorillas with an S.com. They've hidden it in plain view.
Exactly. I'm assuming, Trevor, that knowing how this band works, that we probably will get some version of an unedited version of this video when some DVD comes out.
I don't know if we've ever seen Murdoch's dick in canon.
I think we have. And I think it was during Phase 2. I'm not...
You're thinking of 2D's dick, honestly, actually.
Oh, right. Maybe I am.
There's that picture with them all standing in front of Kong, and 2D's dick is just out for some reason.
Right. Yeah. Have we seen Jamie or Damon's dick?
No, but I think they probably have seen each other's.
Is Graham Coxon Damon's dick?
Let's cut that joke.
No problem. I saw him one time walking his kid to school. Seemed like a nice guy.
Yeah.
Okay, I watched the 360 version.
First of all, before we get into that, what did you think of the video?
Okay, so the standard version, I think, that's the canonical version of the video, because it's, like, very well directed, and the camera points where the action is all the time.
Okay.
I like the video fine. I liked that it seems like we're not kind of, like, top-loading this phase up front with a bunch of narrative.
I like that, too. This was very Phase 1, I thought.
I agree.
Like, it takes it back to the core concept of Gorillaz being this band that wanders into all these separate kind of nonlinear, spooky situations. I wouldn't mind if every video we got this phase was them just doing something else that was like a little Scooby-Doo-ish.
Yes, exactly. I feel like if this video came out, 8 years ago, we would have some version of the Spirit House that we could explore on gorillas.com. Like, all of the videos would take place in the Spirit House.
Absolutely.
Blah, blah, blah. But what we're getting instead, I think, is great. I like the video. I think it's funny. It's playful. I like. There's something very charismatic about a nude Murdoch sort of frog swimming through outer space. That's a funny image.
It feels like they're back.
It does feel like they're back. I don't know how I feel necessarily about the CGI spooky, scary monsters. I know that they look kind of shitty on purpose. I understand that that's a choice. I just don't know if that works for me totally.
Yeah, plus that whole thing with Russell almost like crossed into like tentacle porn. A little bit. Like there's going to be some interesting Gorillaz fan art about that on the Reddit in like probably a couple days.
But that aside, the monster goofiness aside, I thought that video is a lot of fun. I like that it didn't have like an obvious to be continued ... thing going on.
Thank goodness.
Yeah, it seems like this is exactly where you want to start off this new phase. Anything could happen next, et cetera, et cetera.
I've appreciated attempts they've done to create narratives across the phases in the past, but I really just do not think they've ever stuck the landing. And it's refreshing to see them kind of approach this phase with a little bit less of maybe a long-term goal in mind.
I agree. To my memory, I think Plastic Beach was kind of the most intricately woven of the kind of everything is connected phases. Is that right, or am I misremembering that?
I would say so. I think halfway through phase 2, they were like, oh, maybe we can turn this into a kind of cohesive thing. And
we'll go back to the island with the windmill on it and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, they kind of tried to like explain everything in retrospect in the in Rise of the Ogre, that biography they put out. And some of it was just like, I don't know. I wasn't really feeling it.
But there was something that was like, what was fun, what was charismatic, I thought, was that everybody's character everybody seemed to be in the right place. Like, what everybody goes and does in the Spirit House kind of matches their personality, you know?
Absolutely.
Like, Murdoch sees a disgusting, brackish bathtub full of muddy water and wants to take a bath in it. That's, like, check. Noodle puts on a record. Tootie wants to eat the food. Russell wants to take a nap. All these things kind of like, it seemed character first in a way that I liked.
Definitely. It's like they're trying to focus on, I think, what they are actually strong at writing this time around.
Right. So then I'm going to talk a little bit about the 360 experience. I didn't use Google Cardboard or anything. I just held my phone up and like spun around in circles like a goon in my living room, which my dog was not fond of at all. And I thought that it was fine. Like, that's the last time I'm ever going to watch that 360 version. There are a handful of moments in the video where there are kind of multiple centers of focus that you get to choose from yourself. But for the most part, there's what you're seeing in the video, and then there's like a fully rendered 3D environment that you can look away from what's happening to see the inside of the room. And, you know, good on him. That's a cool effort. I think it's better that it does exist than it doesn't. But the standard version of the video, that's where the money is. Our last story today, Gorillaz make triumphant live comeback with Secret Show at Printworks in London. A day after announcing their new LP, Humanz, Damon Albarn and his all-star troupe played the album front to back. Portions of the concert were live-streamed on the Cartoon Band's Facebook. We're going to play our new album, Humanz, in its entirety. We've got pretty much everyone who's on the record here. Albarn toured the crowd, adding that while the full cast of guests weren't able to make the performance on such short notice, every artist featured on Humanz will appear at the Gorillaz' upcoming Demon Days Festival in June. So that's what Damon says. Damon says all those guys are going to be at Demon Days.
Quite a lineup.
It's a good lineup. I'd like to see. I mean, you know, Vince Staples, do you think they'll just get all of Savages? Or is Jenny Beth going to just show up and do some spoken word? What's she going to do?
I want to know if D.R.A.M is going to have a set, and I wonder if he's going to pull Lil Yachty out for, you know, Broccoli.
Boy, if D.R.A.M's there, he better have a set, because what is he even doing on that song? We'll get into it.
It's a good question.
Did you or did you not watch or listen to any of this show?
I didn't listen to any of it because, honestly, I've learned from one of Damon's previous projects, The Good, the Bad, and the Queen, that if I become too attached to live versions of his material, I will eventually, ultimately be underwhelmed by the studio versions that come out, I think.
Right. That's smart. And also there's no soundboard, so you're kind of shortchanging
Yeah, that's
yourself.
Just not how I want to experience the first Gorillaz album in 7 years almost for the first time.
Right. I'll tell you that I did go ahead and listen to the live versions of the 4 songs that have been released, and I listened to the full encore, because that was all previous Phase material.
Okay.
From what I could tell, you know, it's the album's, the new stuff sounding really good. Like, it probably doesn't sound as tight as it would if they'd been touring with it for 6 months, but for like a extremely short-term notice surprise pre-release show, this sounded really solid. Like, I would not have felt shortchanged at all by what I heard just on those 4 tracks. I can't speak to the rest of the album. I do want to talk a little bit about the encore, though, because I thought there were some very interesting choices made there. So the encore was Kids with Guns into Feel Good Inc. with De La Soul there, because they're also there on Humanz.
Right.
And then Clint Eastwood with Del live for the first time. That's the first time Del has ever done that song with Damon and the band in history.
He's done it with Damon before, though, hasn't he?
I don't think so.
I'm pretty sure they've done it once in the past. I'm going to look this up right now.
I don't know. When Damon talks it up before he comes on, he goes like, "We've never done this song with Del before," so I don't know. I'm going off of him, but he's done me dirty in the past. He might be wrong.
Yeah, I mean he did so much stuff back in the '90s. You can never really be sure what's coming out of his mouth.
I've seen Del do the song in concert as Del.
No, they did it back at South by Southwest in 2014.
Damon.
Yep.
You're full of shit.
Yeah, he was just trying to cash in on that moment.
That's true. It was a big moment, though.
He's like, who here was at South by Southwest? I bet not a lot of people. So I'm just gonna, they'll get hyped if I say it. Not a lot of people are going to be able to call me out on it in the moment.
I think because Del was there, that's a really good performance of that song. That's the least bored I've heard Damon sound on that song in a live version in quite some time. Like, he seems sort of charged up by the atmosphere in the moment, and probably because he was taking a victory lap because the concert had just gone really well. But what I think is interesting here, Trevor, is Kids with Guns in lieu of anything from Phase 3.
That's a really interesting choice to open up an encore.
It's very interesting, and it seems so deliberate. So it's worth mentioning that the third most streamed Gorillaz song is from Plastic Beach. On Melancholy Hill, for all intents and purposes, is the third most popular Gorillaz song, which is crazy. But that would have been so easy to slot into an encore. You don't need anybody there, really, but Damon and a synthesizer and a drum machine to pull off an On Melancholy Hill. So it seems really, I don't know, maybe I'm being an obnoxious fanboy and reading too deeply into this, but I've always kind of gotten the sense that, like, Damon is eager to close the book on that album.
It wouldn't surprise me. Phase 3 was just, I don't think it really went the way they were planning it to go.
Right. Well, I mean, the album itself, as far as I understand, right, kind of came from the ashes of a failed project. Like, it was supposed to be this movie, and then it wasn't.
I have always, since then, I've always assumed that anything Gorillaz would release in the future would be a failed project of Damon's, that he realized the only way I'm going to be able to get this out here is if I slap this, like, brand name on it.
Yeah, that's probably a fair
That's
read.
really initially what I thought Hallelujah Money was, which is, we haven't mentioned Hallelujah Money yet.
No.
It is technically the first single from this album.
It is definitely, and a divisive one at that.
Yeah, I was very surprised to find out that it was going to be on the album. When it first came out, I was like, I don't really think this is a Gorillaz song. I think this was something that Damon just kind of wanted to put out. Like,
right.
Topically, the Trump election was happening. And
yeah, well, I think now that I know that it's on the album, it makes perfect sense. Now that I know that it's on the album, what doesn't make sense is that it's the first song we heard from the album.
I initially thought it was just going to be some kind of, like, weird little art project that Damon wanted to release. He didn't really have an avenue to do it, so, get Jamie to do a little marionette 2D silhouette over his video and call it a Gorillaz track.
Right. And I don't know. I don't know where you fall on the Hallelujah Money argument. I think I like that song. I dig that song.
I think it's cool.
I dig Benjamin Clementine. I like that one song of his, but I won't. What's that song called?
I haven't heard that one. I have no other experience with him, actually. But I think it's pretty cool. I can't imagine it ever becoming one of my favorite Gorillaz songs, but after hearing it a couple times, I really warmed up to it.
It does feel like it's going to make a lot more sense in the context of the record to me.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how it fits in.
I think it's I think it's the second to last song.
It's down there. I think it might be the third to last.
Something like that, yeah. Yeah. Okay. Do we have anything else to do? Okay, Printworks show went well. None of us got to go there. We're not cool enough, but it seems like everybody had a good time.
Yeah.
That's closing the book on that news story. Anything you want to share about that in addition?
No, let's talk about these tracks.
Yes! Let's get into the roundtable, Trevor.
Wait, let's talk about the album in general a little bit, because I feel like we haven't done that. How do you feel about some of the aesthetic choices they've made? What do you think of Humanz as an album title?
Okay. Humanz as an album title, I feel like I like the title. I do like the title. It feels like a mission statement.
What about that Z?
The Z, I think there's a lot of doubling down on the Z's.
There's a lot of and it took them 4 phases to get there. They've never done this before.
The Z has always been one of the more interesting aesthetic choices of this band.
I think we're going to have an entire future episode discussing whether Gorillaz is actually the worst band name of all time.
It's not a great band name,
no,
in my
but we'll
opinion.
talk about it somewhere down the road.
But if your band is called Gorillaz, you better fucking lean into it. Like, wasn't that Miles Davis who said that in jazz, like, if you make a mistake, just make the same mistake 3 times in a row so everybody thinks it was on purpose?
But the thing is that Gorillaz got it right the next 2 times. Now they haven't learned from that previous experience, and now they are making the mistake. If you're not a fan of the Z, I'm indifferent to the Z, honestly. I initially thought, like, it's a little, not really feeling it, but it's whatever.
I like it. I like Humanz because I feel like that there is definitely going to be a political mandate of this album that is about, standing up against hate and discrimination.
I mean, we got the power to be loving each other.
We got the power to be loving each other. There's a song that's called like "Murder Sex Party" or "Sex Murder Party" or something.
Yep.
And both of the artists on that are like, there's like an LGBT producer and an LGBT rapper on it.
Great.
And my feeling is like, what if that song, what if "Sex Murder Party" is about the Orlando nightclub shooting? I'm not saying that it is.
Wow.
But what if it is? Is that a tasteless thing to call a song about the Orlando nightclub shooting?
I guess we'll see. This does feel like a very... I think they're trying to bill this almost as a direct sequel to Demon Days.
Yeah, you think? I mean, that makes sense.
They're calling the festival Demon Days.
Demon Days is like sort of a gently war protest album, right?
I've always seen it less as a war protest album and more just a general exploration of Damon's experience of that time period of like the mid-2000s. Like, listening to that album, he must have thought that the world was legitimately ending. Like, there are so many bad vibes on every track on that album, even some of the prettier ones.
But then Plastic Beach, on the other hand, also a political album, I think always came off a little bit more like cranky and obstinate. Maybe not helped by the fact that like the median age of the collaborators on that album is maybe 50 years old. Like, it just seems like a bunch of old dudes complaining about how they saw an iPod box on the beach one time and it made them feel like, what are these kids doing to her?
I think there are what, 3 old people on that album? Okay, wait. Let's do it. There is Bobby Womack, Lou Reed.
Snoop Dogg is old.
Snoop Dogg is old. There are the 2 Clash members. It's really only 5 old people.
There's the guy from The Fall.
Okay, I guess there is the guy from The Fall. He's old.
Yeah, he's there too.
Yeah. Okay, there are a lot of old people. De La Soul are very old by now, I guess, right?
De La Soul are also very old. But Humanz is full of young motherfuckers and Carly Simon in a bonus track. I am excited for the album. I do like the name. I feel like it seems to be about like, well, look at Vince Staples. We'll talk about Vince Staples' verse, but I feel like his verse is probably very telling for the political and social direction of this album. Also, Damon in that BBC interview mentioned that one of the reasons that Gorillaz is such a collaborator-focused project is that he wants to tell stories that he doesn't feel his life experience will allow him to tell in a legitimate way.
Interesting.
Which I think makes a lot of sense.
Definitely.
If you're going to make a song called Sex Murder Party about the Orlando nightclub shooting, then maybe you want to bring a couple of queer artists on to help tell that story.
I guess we'll see.
We'll see. Let's talk about the cover art.
I hate the cover art.
It's so bad.
The only thing I like about the cover art is that Murdoch was clearly intentionally designed to look like Noel Gallagher. Noel Liam, I don't know which one is which at this point.
A Gallagher.
He's a Gallagher. He has become a Gallagher. By the way, Noel Gallagher is on The Closer.
Yeah, and he's credited as a co-writer of one of the tracks too. Very interesting.
I actually have a Gorillaz story I can go into here. Can I do that for a moment? It's Noel Gallagher related. I saw Blur perform at the Hollywood Bowl about, I guess, a year and a half ago.
How was that? They seem like they've had pretty good live dates.
It was cool. It was cool. I was a little underwhelmed. I don't know. I don't love going to shows at the Hollywood Bowl. It's a little too big, and I just feel like I'm kind of watching TV. But it was really a special experience for me to see Blur live. I feel like we should have probably touched on this during the discussion of the festival and live dates that they were doing. Have you seen Gorillaz live?
No, I've never seen Gorillaz live. That's I guess a failing of myself. The live experience is something that I seek out less and less as I'm getting older. Part of the problem is that I have a disability, Trevor. I'm hearing impaired.
Okay.
So my ideal listening experience for music is always going to be headphones. In any kind of a live PA setting, if I have my hearing aids in, they're going to the gain is going to short them out and it's going to sound like shit to me.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
So I don't doubt that I'll see the band in some form before I am dead or they are no longer a band. But the couple of times that I've had, they're on the same coast as me, I've just kind of been like, I've seen a number of their collaborators live.
Okay.
But yeah, I don't know. I just haven't gotten around to it. Maybe that along with calling him Jamie Hewitt means that I shouldn't be hosting this podcast. Maybe we should log on to the Gorillaz forum and find a 13-year-old kid who should take my place.
They'd probably be doing a lot better job than us at this point. But I've seen them twice, actually. I saw them in Harlem when they were doing that special Demon Days show, which was very cool. And then I saw them again when they were touring for Plastic Beach, which was a little... I felt like the live performances were a little messy, but they ultimately were really good.
Where on the tour did you... how long did they be on tour when you saw them do Plastic Beach?
Oh, I'm not sure.
The Fall had not come out yet.
The Fall had not come out yet, no.
And was it outdoor?
No, it was indoors. I saw them in Camden, New Jersey.
I remember reading people's reactions that seemed to say that, most of the outdoor gigs were better than the indoor gigs on the Plastic Beach tour for some reason.
I can imagine.
I can't speak to that. I was not there.
What was that big festival that they played? Didn't they headline
Coachella, wasn't it?
Did they headline Coachella?
I think so, yeah.
That's really weird to think about.
That was one of their last live appearances, I think, before this this comeback show.
I think this was exaggerated probably in the aftermath, but didn't that show not really go well? I remember some kind of see, if I Google Gorillaz Coachella, the first result is this post on Coachella's official forum website from 2010, Gorillaz, most disappointing headliner ever.
That's on Coachella.com?
It's on Coachella.com. It is on, it's a post in their forum.
That is doing them dirty.
I know much has already been said, and you can flame me to your heart's content, says Coachella forum user Milos57. But Gorillaz were a serious letdown, and I say that as a fan of their music. The whole show was uncreative, very low-key, and had no real feeling behind it. Simply playing in front of video screens, showing animation, the style of video, and other stuff is hardly inspired, especially after witnessing Atoms for Peace rip Coachella's heart out. Atoms for Peace, you may remember, is Tom York's side band with Flea and somebody else in it, right?
Right, and I remember hearing that single and being like, not for Dillon.
Yeah, I don't care about this. But compared to them, I guess Gorillaz felt like the biggest anticlimax ever.
Well, maybe Damon Albarn needed to put a tube sock over his dick and slap a motherfucking bass guitar.
Something.
I'm sure that he was I'm sure it was a completely valid reaction. I'm sure that it was not the best set ever. I remember hearing at the time that it was a little bit shambolic.
Yeah, I know Damon was kind of disappointed too, because like I said, I feel like this probably got blown out of proportion in the aftermath. But there was all this talk about him getting upset on stage that people weren't singing, even though they were flashing the lyrics of the song. I think it was, what was it? What's the closer from Plastic Beach? Pirate Jet. People weren't singing along with Pirate Jet. God forbid people don't sing along with the worst song on the album after Glitter Freeze.
If you guys don't all yell, "Where's North from here" in unison, we're not going to play Glitter Freeze.
You're joking, but I'm pretty sure that actually happened.
Glitter Freeze takes it on the chin, man.
Yeah.
It's got to be most people's least favorite album track from the band.
I've seen people call Glitter Freeze their least favorite song of all time.
That seems excessive. But you know what? This isn't our Plastic Beach episode.
I think I guess we should talk about that later. So, keep following along until we reveal our very controversial opinions on Glitter Freeze. Anyway, do you want to talk about the 4 new songs? Huh? Yeah, let's talk about the 4 new songs.
All right, let's start with Saturn's Bars.
Yes, this feels like the, first official single because of the music video.
I think it is the first single.
I really like it.
I love this song.
And I've been surprised to see that it's kind of gotten a middling response from the Gorillaz fan base. I've seen people who say they really love it. I've also seen people who say they don't care for it at all.
I feel like I've mostly seen positive reactions to it, but I've definitely seen a lot of I like it, but I like this one better.
Yeah, I don't understand how a Gorillaz fan could not love this song, because it feels like for the first time Gorillaz always try and branch out and try something different with each new phase. This is, I feel like, the first song we've gotten that feels like almost fan service for like the fans of Phase One. It has all the kind of elements that you would find in a track from their self-titled, I think.
Yes, and not in the I don't want to say like not in the cynical, because cynical is not the right word, but I look at a song like Super Fast Jellyfish, that seems like too self-aware about wanting to try to recapture the formula of what has been commercially successful for the band in the past.
Careful, because I do love me some Super Fast Jellyfish.
I think that song is charming and definitely has a lot. It has plenty to offer, but I do think it feels a little bit sweaty in a way that I don't think Saturn's Bars feel sweaty. Like, I feel like that song and this song probably adhere to the quote-unquote Gorillaz formula roughly as slavishly as one another.
They're the phases Clint Eastwood's.
Yes, but I feel like sonically there's new ground being broken on Saturn's Bars that feels compelling and feels like a step forward for the band, which I don't know that I felt about Super Fast Jellyfish, for example. I'll say this for this song. I want this fucking instrumental, dude. And I don't know that I was clamoring for any like Plastic Beach instrumentals.
It has a really cool instrumental. I really love that ominous, high-pitched synth kind of drone that comes in.
That synth line is great.
Yes,
the
really
choral,
good. So Gorillaz, too. It's very haunting. And, like, they're back to that kind of like zombie pop kind of vibe with this track, I think.
I know, and there's a vague dance hall feeling going on, not just because of what PopCam's doing on the track, which is interesting because that's always been like one element of their sound, and now it's kind of suddenly a little bit more fashionable than it was in past phases again.
PopCam's verse, I think, also begs for an in-universe Gorillaz character.
Some
kind of representation. I think
I guess he's technically all four of those little monsters in the video.
Right, definitely.
But that's a great performance. I think PopCam is so good on this song.
Do you have much experience with his other work? I haven't heard too many PopCam songs.
I've only heard that song he did with Jamie XX. That's the only one that I know.
I've heard that one, and I've heard the demo, I guess, version of Controlla by Drake.
Right, which I guess he was on, and then
he ended up cutting
PopCam
off at the last minute. He got a lot of heat from that.
Right. I don't know that this is going to be like a big charting single. In fact, I think based on iTunes numbers, it probably won't be. But I think that the game has changed enough, and I think what it is going to do is set Humanz up nicely for a huge first week of release.
Do you think we'll see a big like Gorillaz crossover single, or have they kind of left that territory?
I really doubt it.
Yeah, I don't think we got one for Plastic Beach. I think they've.
I feel like we're living in a post One Dance universe, and the elements that make a chart topping single in 2017 are very specific and not necessarily embodied by the Gorillaz project.
I think it's interesting you said it, because I think they are embodied by the Gorillaz project, because you see what Drake's doing with One Dance and those kind of tracks of his where he's taking all these influences from other cultures. That's really what the Gorillaz project was about from the start.
That's true. I just think it's not necessarily the right kind of sleepy, and it's not the right kind of melancholy to be one of. Well, maybe I'm wrong. I might be wrong, but I will say that in 2017, I feel like there is more goodwill for the Gorillaz project from the greater like hip hop and pop music community than there has ever been in a past phase. I feel like the line between a Gorillaz fan and a general music nerd has never been blurrier. The kind of backpacker white hip hop nerd that has become a very vocal part of the internet music discussion machine is very aware of Gorillaz, is very excited about this album, and I think that I think they're set up for a huge album release and big sales on the album. That's my prediction.
I think the excitement for this album is really palpable. And that's always something I felt with Gorillaz. They kind of inspire an excitement from their core fans that I don't see from a lot, like fans of a lot of other bands. When a Gorillaz album comes out, it truly feels like a special event. And that was the first way I saw this album described by Damon himself. He said he's preparing a new Gorillaz album. It's going to be very special. But with the Gorillaz album, how could it not be?
To speak to your point about the hype that surrounds new Gorillaz albums, I think that's true. I think Gorillaz are kind of one of the only bands that are not widely looked upon as, generation leaders, like a Radiohead or an Arcade Fire, that the machine really goes crazy when a new album is coming out. I don't know how to speak to that. Maybe it's just because if you're a Gorillaz fan, you're more likely to own a poster or an action figure or draw a picture of your favorite character on your DeviantArt. I don't know why. I don't know why we have such a special fan community, Trevor.
It really kind of hit me in the feels when I saw that leaked track listing that they have I guess the last song on the album, on the deluxe edition at least, is called Circle of Friends, which just is a very special title to me, thinking about all the relationships that I've made through this band. And it's just a great way to sum up the kind of collaborative nature of the project itself.
Yeah, and maybe a little cheesy, but you know what? In a good way.
Maybe a little Friends with a Z at the end, a little bit, but I'm on board.
Saturn's Bars, I think, is a banger. It is my favorite of these 4 tracks.
Really good.
That chorus is it's slightly understated, but so catchy. Mm-hmm. And it's impressive that Damon he's late 40s now, or is he in his 50s yet?
I feel like he might have gotten to his 50s.
It's impressive to me that he is still sexy and cool enough that he can pull off a lyric like Saturn's about to make love and not sound like a weirdo.
I really like that lyric. It just takes me...
I can't sing it and not sound like a dork, though. I sing along to that song in my car, and I'm like, every time that lyric comes on, I'm like, nah, you're not pulling this off.
It just draws me back to... He's 49, I guess, yeah. The lyric Saturn's about to make love always just brings me back to that classic painting. What is it?
Oh, where he's biting the guy's head off?
He's eating his kid, yeah. I'm like, oh, that's what this song is about.
Go, if you're listening to this and you're not behind the wheel of a car, Google Saturn eating dude's head.
Saturn devouring his son, a painting by Spanish artist Francisco Goya from 1823.
It's brutal. It's a brutal and oddly comedic image.
Yeah, and that song's just about this dude getting ready to bone.
It sure is, and that song's great. That hook's great. I love the interchange between Popcan and Damon on the hook. I love the bridge, the hologram beside me bridge.
And Popcan's verse is just so good. It is a classic Gorillaz rap verse.
What's the I don't have my gun, so I cut like a knife? So good.
So good.
2 big thumbs up. Two pixelated Murdoch dicks up.
Let's go to Ascension though. This is actually barring the actual intro, this is the opening track to the album.
That's right. And it's I think inarguably it's a huge Vince Staples moment.
It's really good. I do not have as much experience with Vince Staples as I would like to have by this point, because I know he's really, really good. I saw him at FYF last year here, and his set was great. I wasn't too familiar with the songs. I first came across him, I think, on that really good Earl Sweatshirt song back from 2013, 2012 or something. Hive.
I remember that song. I don't know that he totally jumped out to me on it, but when Hell Can Wait came out, I was sort of immediately on Team Vince. I was like, this dude seems like he's really... I love Summertime '06. I think that album is terrific.
That was a good one. That's the only thing I've heard from him. I haven't listened to it enough, but I definitely agree that it got the praise it deserved.
But this seems like a huge moment for Vince. I would call it a fun but socially conscious song.
Definitely.
And I like that because of the state of the world that we're in, there is not necessarily quite as clearly 2 camps in hip hop between the kind of ignorant fun party rap and the super serious, boring, socially conscious rap. There's no longer kind of you're a Talib Kweli or you're a, I don't know, Lil Jon.
Totally. I mean, look at Future in March Madness. He has a lyric "Ballin' like it's March Madness," directly preceding a lyric about cops shooting people.
Exactly. Because everybody's living in the same kind of twisted, backwards world, and they all have to talk about it.
Exactly.
I think that the song is a lot of fun. I know that there is a little bit of bristling in the community about that hook, and maybe it being a little weak.
I just think it gets annoying. I saw somebody compare it to Peanut Butter Jelly Time, and I really like his verses, though. Again, just classic Gorillaz material. This just brings me back to Booty Brown's verse on Dirty Harry.
Yeah, and I think that the beat didn't service Booty Brown's voice as well as the beat in Ascension is servicing Vince Staples. Even though it's understated in that somewhat unpopular hook, I love what that little minor key synth is doing behind him. And I love the little higher chorus behind him.
Yeah, I like the choir work a lot.
I love the production on this track. I think Vince, obviously everybody's talking about the puppet on a string bar. It's like one of the big bars of the in a week where Kendrick kind of had this amazing mission statement of a song. Everybody is still also making some room to talk about Vince Staples' bars on this song, and it's totally deserved. I think
deservedly so.
It's right up there, probably a top 5 MC performance on a Gorillaz track for me. I think it's super strong, and I love the song. It's probably my second favorite of the batch. Probably
it would get there for me if it had a stronger hook, but my second favorite as of now is still Andromeda, which we should talk about.
We should talk about
featuring D.R.A.M.
Supposedly,
apparently, yeah, supposedly.
What is he really doing on this song? I love D.R.A.M. I love that picture of him with his dog.
When you mentioned that earlier, I looked up the track on Genius. Apparently what he's doing is that little kind of bridge directly after the first verse about there being no substitute.
Oh, weird. I thought that was just Damon.
Yeah, me too. But I mean, I guess that's D.R.A.M's part. I really was kind of disappointed by the D.R.A.M guest spot. After seeing him initially in like that leaked track list or something, I just thought about what a good track you could get by combining Gorillaz with something like, I don't know, Broccoli or Cha Cha. And to find that he's just basically doing like backing vocals was a little underwhelming.
But I will say I'm not disappointed with this song.
No, definitely not. It's a very good song. I like it a lot.
It really came alive to me when I played it on my car's sound system, because it's you could almost, like, if you're not thinking or listening too closely, you might even call this song a little bit like low key or down tempo. It really isn't, though. The beat is actually quite driving and pretty crunchy, but there is kind of a classic, Damon melancholy.
There are some late night vibes to it.
Yeah, definitely. I do like the hook. I mean, it's maybe a little bit understated, but I really like.
Mm-hmm.
Is he saying love her or lover?
I hear lover.
I hear lover also.
Yeah.
But I've seen some people write it out, love her.
What this song makes me think of, though, is I think this is what it might have sounded like if Daft Punk had gotten Damon to be on their last album, Random Access Memories.
Oh, yeah, that's actually a pretty apt comparison, I think.
I've seen a couple artists doing that recently, though, because have you heard the recent Calvin Harris song, Slide, with Frank Ocean and Migos on it?
I saw that came out. No, I haven't listened to that.
Also sounds like Calvin Harris making a very, very good Random Access Memories song.
Right, kind of sad robot music.
Not even like, it's like kind of that, like, it sounds like robots making like 70s disco pop.
Right.
Yeah.
But I would say that there is a sad disco element to Andromeda, certainly.
Yes, this sounds like Damon just got out of club and it's something he's singing to himself on his way home.
Again, with Andromeda, we have this kind of intergalactic, space theme, a motif that is emerging here.
I think that's really interesting. I enjoy seeing artists do stuff like that across track listings.
Right. So then, like, if Plastic Beach was kind of had a nautical theme to it, perhaps we're gonna go interstellar on.
Yeah,
Humanz.
I like that. Interstellar kind of slash like mythology there with Saturn and Andromeda.
That's true. Both of them are also gods. Yeah. So Well, we'll see. We'll see. Let's talk about We Got the Power with Jenny Beth.
Yeah, this one isn't really my favorite. I don't like this track that much. I think it's cute.
I actually really like the first 5 seconds of it. It almost for a second feels like it's going to go in like an ultralight beam direction. Like it's got kind of a future gospel thing happening there at the beginning.
That would have been yeah.
And I even like when Jenny Beth is kind of doing her Love Is All style punk rock chick shouting thing. Mm-hmm. But boy, when she starts singing, and I like Savages. I think I haven't heard the second Savages album, but I really like the first one.
I did like the first one, yeah.
There's something she kind of is reminding me of. Do you know the band Poison Girls? They were like a kind of a cult 80s punk band fronted by a middle-aged woman, kind of an intersectional feminist punk rock band. Kind of a cool band, but like a very distinct voice, like a throaty middle-aged woman voice.
Right.
And That's what I'm getting from Jenny when she sings, and I don't think that this song is servicing that voice in the best way. I don't. It's like the analogy I would make is like every year Oreo comes out with a weird seasonal Oreo, and some of them you're like, ugh, that sounds awful. And I don't know that all the flavors are really mixing on this track in a way that hits my palate positively.
It is the closer, though.
That's weird.
So, if you want that full 100% cathartic experience, you're going to have to end on this note every time.
Well, the version that they played at Printworks was a lot longer.
I heard it was considerably better.
And it was better. I do think it was better. I think it still had some of the... I mean, Jenny's voice is what it is. But I felt like, okay, this does feel cathartic. Like, this does feel cathartic in a way that, like, makes it feel like an end-of-album track. But, Trevor, there are 4 bonus tracks on Humanz as well.
There's 5, actually.
5, is that right?
6 if you include an interlude.
So that how do you think that plays out? Do you think that's going to sequence in a way that it'll run together with the album, or do you think when you listen to Humanz, you'll listen to it most of the time up through We Got the Power, and maybe spread those bonus tracks into some playlists or something like that?
That's a really good question, and I'm going to be interested to see how it plays out. I was never a huge fan of bonus tracks, but you know who completely changed that in 2016? Kanye West.
Oh, right. Well, yeah, absolutely.
The way The Life of Pablo is structured has completely changed the way I think about track listings. Because
it feels more like an encore.
Exactly. It feels exactly like an encore. You get up to Wolves, that's the album. And he throws a nice little wavy interlude in there. And he even makes sure to say during the outro of the first bonus track, these are the bonus tracks. He explicitly says it. All my favorite albums had bonus tracks. Here are the bonus tracks.
I hope that we're getting that conceptual kind of a take on bonus tracks on Humanz. That would be really cool.
I feel like that's probably what we're going to get. The fact that the first track after We Got the Power is an interlude is really giving me hope that it's actually going to be a cohesive continuation of the record and not just, hey, here are 5 other songs.
Yeah, that's my prediction too. I have a prediction, and it is that the 5 bonus tracks of Humanz are going to feel like a sort of coda for the record. And that's also my hope and my prayer. We've got until what? April 8th?
So about exactly a month now.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh, I got countdown fever, Trevor.
Yeah, we will have a 4th Gorillaz record in a month. A 4th proper studio LP.
You know what's going to help make that wait a little less trying, a little less cold and lonely?
Don't we get a new Kendrick album earlier that month?
No, fuck Kendrick Lamar. This podcast.
Oh, yeah, the podcast. That's good. Yeah, that's good. Yeah. Kendrick may have released
don't fuck Kendrick Lamar. I'm sure that album's going to be amazing.
Yeah. But no, it's definitely going to make the build up a lot more exciting, I think, to sit down with you once a week or however we're planning to do this. And talk about our love for this very, very special band.
And if you're listening and you got a reaction, maybe we said something that you're like, oh, that's not sitting well with me, or maybe you got a news story you want to tip us off.
I love to fight with people online.
Oh, it's one
that was literally how I spent the majority of my time in the Gorillaz fan base, just fighting with people online.
Yes, absolutely. And he's good at it. That's my warning to you. I'm a pushover. If you didn't like something I said, you can just be like, shut up, fatty, and I'll be like, you're right. But if you
feel free to add us on Twitter or whatever, and we will.
Yeah, I was gonna say. So if you want to get at us, you can email us at hallelujahmonkeys with a Z at gmail.com or facebook.com/hallelujahmonkeys or Twitter, somewhat obnoxiously, at Gorillaz Fancast, because Hallelujah Monkeys would not fit in their little restrictive username box.
That doesn't feel like too long of a name.
It doesn't feel that long to me either. But you know what? Who are we to question Twitter? They won't ban the white supremacists.
Yeah, they won't let us neo-Nazis, but we can't get our podcast name.
Twitter.
Jack. Looking at you, Jack.
Well, Trevor, this was a wonderful inaugural episode. I hope that you had as much fun as me. I will say until next time, I'm Dylan Flynn.
I'm Trevor Ickrath.
And we don't have a
we don't have a cool Gorillaz related thing to sign off on just yet. Give me like 2 minutes. I'm going to just look through iTunes and say the first thing that comes to my mind.
Okay, good. Yeah, let's do it.
Here we go.
Yep.
Until next time, don't get lost in heaven.
Oh, nice.
That's pretty good, right? We'll see you.
I'm gonna leave. I'm not gonna edit it all. I'm gonna leave that pause in because the people got to know how quick your Google game was there.
And hey, we'll see you, El Mañana. We'll see you when tomorrow comes today.
Take it in your heart now, drama. Take it in your heart. Take it.